Welcome back, guys. Welcome to the Committed Groove podcast. We're back this week after recording actually last week. We just waited 7 days and we were too impatient to start over. So we're back. How are you doing this week?
I'm good. I'm excited to get into our next topic and get to our next episode.
Yeah.
It's been good so far.
Yeah.
We've had a great response on
my God.
Instagram. So
It was so much more active than we were expecting.
yeah, we thought we were like, we have like 10 followers. No one's gonna care, but
No.
people cared.
Yeah, people cared. People cared. So we're ready to bring some more controversial shit. No, I'm kidding. We're back today. We want to talk about beauty standards because I feel like this is something that a lot of people talk about on social media. But per usual, I feel like on social media, a lot of people say the same things all the time. I don't know if you feel the same thing about that, but
Yeah,
same
definitely.
way.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can bring a bit of new perspectives, maybe a interesting way of thinking. Maybe one question we can start off from. How would you describe beauty? What does it mean to you, and how would you describe it?
Oh, that's a very good question. To me, beauty, it means many things. I think there's objective beauty of things that are like aesthetic, like a beautiful room.
Yeah.
It's somewhere where you feel comfortable, you feel warm, you feel welcomed. And like beautiful clothes that really like fit the person wearing them.
Yeah.
Well made, well crafted. But I think when it comes to beauty in people, that's something that we've all, in my opinion, have been brainwashed to have the same standard of. Whereas with other types of aesthetics, we can kind of appreciate different sorts of beauty. And I think with humans, especially in the algorithm-driven world, we've kind of come to have one set standard of beauty. And we can't appreciate beauty in all of its forms with people in the same way we can with like natural beauty or a beauty of things.
Very true. Why do you think does that happen?
I think people are just kind of programmed to hate each other.
Yeah.
So they can see the beauty in the people that are closest to them. So like someone might think, oh, my mom, she's older, but she's so beautiful. But when they see an older person online who they don't know, they view them like an object. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know really why it is. I think people are kind of programmed to hate each other, and then if they don't know them, and then beauty is the easiest thing to attack because it's just physical. It's like how you look on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I was thinking about the topic and the points that I wanted to come with, one of the first things that really struck me is that it's a very gendered kind of
For sure.
Issue almost, I want to say, but like the perspective that we're going to have on beauty is very different if you've been, you grew up as a...
And I will say this, like as a woman, I think like gay men can kind of understand this for sure. But I think as a woman, beauty is something you're so harshly judged on by people who, it's not like, I think with men, they think beauty, like someone doesn't want to date me because they don't think I'm beautiful.
Exactly.
But for women, not being beautiful means you don't get a job or you don't make friends or you don't, like people invalidate what you say. And sometimes when you are beautiful, they invalidate what you say. But as a woman, it's everything about your personhood. Even if you're not interested in men or you're asexual, your beauty is still completely something that is like, it's like a value judgment people make about you in a way that I think for men it's not. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, totally.
But I think a man is not viewed as like a bad person because he's like letting himself go or he's not the most beautiful person. Whereas women, it's seen as like a quality, like being funny or being like a nice person.
Yeah.
But to me, it shouldn't be viewed that way because really beauty is about privilege. It's about like all kinds of other things.
Yeah. It's really random at the end of the day, right?
I honestly think beauty is what we consider beautiful right now is how privileged are you?
Ooh.
Yeah. Like light-skinned.
Yeah.
Like youthful, young.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't be beautiful if you aren't those things, but I think like it's a lot of class and socioeconomic indicators and privilege indicators is what constitutes beauty now.
Yeah.
So if you are a POC, how light-skinned are you? And if you are heavier set, like how curvy, like how much do you fit the like mainstream beauty standard?
Exactly.
And if you are disabled, how much do you fit the other aspects of beauty?
Interesting.
Quote unquote.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I heard something a long time ago, like some people are saying that from history, beauty has always been considered as who's the most like fertile. Yeah. It's like the most attractive people are going to be the most... like obviously there is, how do we say that when your all your face features are straight, right?
Yeah.
It's
Symmetrical?
Symmetrical. But there is also like how like fertile you look. So if you look young,
Yeah.
if you look, it's like
I think in history it's always been that way, but what's interesting about the
nowadays
past...
it's changed.
Yeah, I think in the past, since the rise of... And people always say this, since
Yeah.
the rise of second wave feminism in the 70s, then it became being very skinny. And
Yeah.
so being skinny is not necessarily associated with being
fertile,
fertile
yeah.
because a lot of the women who are considered beautiful don't get their periods. And women who are like a normal shape, people on the internet will call them fat.
Yeah.
So I feel like now it's no
Yeah.
longer like how fertile are you? It's like, which I think has some degree maybe of biological
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Now it's just like how much are you controlling your, or how, like it's very interesting.
Honestly,
yeah.
I feel like the internet has really changed the way we act as human beings.
Yeah.
That's why you see so much more like surgery,
Yeah.
like cosmetic surgery happening in the world. I feel like we've completely left like the biological kind of explanation we came up with
exactly.
last century.
Yeah.
And now everything became so much more like dystopian.
Yeah.
It's like even the beauty standards, if you look at it, like all these people getting surgery, I'm sorry, but from my perspective, it's not that pretty, when you get all the fillers and it doesn't necessarily look like organic, or it doesn't even look like the way like we would describe beauty last century or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I do think really good surgery and fillers you don't even notice is there.
That's probably why.
So the
why
ones that
I
are
don't
like
know.
you think are just natural
Yeah.
have it
Yeah.
done. But I agree.
Oh,
with,
really?
I
You
think
so?
I think really good surgery is completely undetectable.
Yeah.
A good surgeon will not make you look very different from
That's-
how you looked before.
That's the funny thing, because with my sister, we watch the Kardashians, and
Yeah.
she's always like, "Oh my God, Kim is so pretty." And it's like, people sometimes assume that because you're pretty, it means that you're more natural. It's like she just had, but that's the thing. She had like a lot of work done. She had good work done too from good surgeons, but she also had the features at the beginning that were
Yeah,
easier to work
exactly.
with. When somebody like Khloe Kardashian, I find her super gorgeous, but like people make more fun of her and like make fun of her surgery and tell her every day
Yeah.
she has a new face, just because at the beginning she was not fitting with beauty standards quite as much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there, as you said before, I feel like there is a set of privilege that you were born with.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, these determine most of how you're gonna be perceived in society.
Yeah.
Do you think it's true?
I agree. I think so much of beauty is definitely natural, and then I think very famous people will have small tweaks that, again,
Yeah,
undetectable.
exactly.
But I think so much of beauty is, it's both, it's like you're born with it, but then the maintenance of beauty is what is the privilege.
Yeah.
So like
the maintenance.
the
of
maintenance
that's
of
what you said.
beauty is like an act.
Yeah.
It's a ritual, and that's what costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time. Even people are saying, "Oh, I do my skincare." They call it self-care, but you're really doing it so that you don't look old or you don't look like you have pimples to other people. Because if it was self-care, I don't think there'd be as much of an aesthetic component, like a
Definitely.
physical aesthetic component of it.
Yeah.
And I do think it makes you feel nice. I love
Yeah.
doing skincare, but
Yeah.
you can't deny that there's the act, that it is an act of like
Yeah.
you want to be pretty for other people, and it's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that because so much of our society is looks based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Okay, I want to go back to a point that you mentioned before. By the way, before guys, I want to give a big disclaimer. I'm a man, so I'm so sorry about the things I will say in this, but I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to listen and understand, but like just my perspective is not necessarily my opinion. I just want to be very honest and give a big disclaimer about this. And I'm also asking Linka about a lot of things that I don't understand. But starting this conversation, I
Yeah.
can already see how uncomfortable I am, because I feel like it's deeply gendered. So like even when I say like Khloe Kardashian, Kim Kardashian, I feel bad because I never want to judge people for the looks. But at the same time, when you made a business entirely based on your look, I feel like we're allowed to give our opinion. Anyway, so another thing that I wanted to talk about is, before you said, it's like in each category. So let's say your POC, it's how light skinned you are. Like let's say for white people, I feel like there is a bit less of a standard, but there is definitely standards too there. Like it's like there are beauty standards. Or anyways, if you're like you were mentioning, if you're disabled, is how much you're featured. You fit like beauty has to fit within a certain category to be socially recognized. Let's say, do you feel like beauty is how much you resemble something else? Or do you feel like beauty can be taken in a very unique way? I don't know if my question is clear.
I see what you're saying.
Because it's kind of
Yeah.
struck me when you were saying that.
I think and this is what I think the brain rot of the internet has done to us,
Yeah.
because in your personal life you'll find so many different kinds of people beautiful.
Exactly.
As a human being, when you meet people, when you see their joy on their face, when you see them that you will consider them beautiful even if they don't fit that like societal standard. I think the internet, the brain rot of the internet and AI and fillers and filters has made us kind of, we view that as normal. So when every time someone deviates from that like no beauty norm, we think it's strange, and then we attack that person. When I say we, not me. I don't do that, by the way. But, you know, society will attack that person. So whether it's a celebrity or just someone talking on the internet, they get attacked for not being beautiful because we've kind of rotted our brains and we've But if you just go outside, you'll be able to appreciate the beauty of so many different kinds of people. You know, I don't think you have to be this, like, able-bodied, slim, like, light-skinned person to be beautiful. But these are the things that you're judged on for beauty. Those are, you know what I mean? Like you can be beautiful if you're not those things. I feel like just that the mainstream standard of beauty, like beauty as currency, beauty as a capitalistic thing you can capitalize on, that is the standard. You know?
So what's a beauty privilege in your opinion? Like, what do you think you get when you're pretty? And maybe you can give your perspective like as a woman, and I can give my perspective as a man.
I think being pretty is definitely a double-edged sword for sure.
Yes.
Because I think people don't really take you that seriously if you look nice.
So true.
Especially if you're in my opinion, if you're an outgoing and pretty, people think you're just so dumb. But it gives you a privilege because people are also willing to talk to you in a way they will not be willing to talk to other people. And you know, like people will give you a chance. They'll like making friends, I think, is easier when you're pretty. And I think people trust you more because we've all been sort of inherently taught to trust pretty people. But I also think beauty is also so subjective. Like, you can be considered like the beauty standard in one group of people, and then you go to another group of people and you're the ugliest person in the room.
Exactly. But that's interesting because I have more of a controversial take on beauty, but I, as a man, again, and I'm very aware of this, I see beauty as something so much more subjective and so much more like subtle, and I feel like there is a lot also of the way you act that make you pretty or not pretty.
Of course,
you know what I mean? But from my experience, so me, I would say I've experienced different stage of beauty, different state of beauty, I would say actually. So in my life, sometimes I was really, really fit, sometimes I was super unfit, and sometimes I was in between, like a bit like now. And again, I don't wear makeup, so my face is pretty much the same. But I've noticed that when I was really, really fit, hi dog. When I was really fit, maybe it was when I came to Canada in 2015, people would treat me really differently.
Really?
Like I would get a lot of compliments about my appearance, which I don't get anymore, you know.
Interesting.
Like, and I would get a lot of it. Like people would always tell me that I was fit. I know also, like, I feel like a lot of girls would slightly hit on me, which was extremely uncomfortable. It was really, really uncomfortable. And just like things were so much easier for me, like to be successful, to be liked, to get a job, to, you know, like even I was working in customer service at the time, and like the way people would treat me in my job was really different. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't lose all of this privilege, but I did feel like it was a bit more when I was also young, early 20s. You know, your face looks so innocent and stuff. Now I'm in my 30s, it looks different. But one thing that is so weird is that sometimes it would get a bit too much. Like, I would feel like so much of who I was could be like essentialized to the way I looked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is a bit, even like my family would always tell me, oh my God, you're pretty, let's take photos, you always look good on photos and blah, blah, blah. And it was so much to the point that when I kind of gained weight, I was like, oh, it's kind of a liberation, you know? It's like, because I can be something else.
You can be something besides being, like, looked at.
Yes. Yeah. You know? And I'm not saying that I was, like, Brad Pitt or whatever. Like, if nobody was like, well, I wasn't incredibly beautiful. I don't even believe in that. That's why, to me, it's such a joke. And also recognize of how absurd what I'm saying sounds. I feel so bad, you know? But I did feel that. And, you know, today, like, I'm fine with my appearance. I think I'm okay with it. Also, I'm more mature, you know. When you're in the 30s, you don't care.
You don't care as much.
But I do notice that, you know, it's a bit less than at that time, and just it leads me to really think about beauty as something like it is it is a way to exist within society, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, but very often when you fit with beauty standards or you are closer to the beauty standards, you're so often essentialized to this. And that becomes the only thing you get and the only thing you can show and the only thing you get talked about. And also, it's not a very profound thing. If people come to you and they want to be friends with you for your appearance,
they're not a real friend.
Then they're gonna leave in 5 minutes. You know, same for a relationship.
Yeah.
Obviously, appearance is very important in a love relationship. I'm not gonna lie. I met my partner and I find them really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the first thing that got me hooked in. You know, but after that, there was so many other things, and I just think that beauty for beauty is kind of empty. And the more I'm getting old, and the more I'm listening to all these topics about, like, you know, beauty standards and stuff, and I do find it a bit superficial, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, but again, like, I'm very aware of like, my perspective.
I think beauty is something that it can hook people in, but it can't be all that you give.
Yeah.
And a lot of very beautiful people, I think, struggle with their self-image once they age out of beauty, because everyone's going to age out of it. Like, no matter how pretty you are, you'll age out of it eventually. Or you'll be considered, like, good-looking for your age, but you won't be the mainstream beauty standard. People who are very good looking tend to struggle with it when they like lose a sense of identity when they age.
Yeah.
So it is important to focus on who you are outside of it, but I think the problem like that our society has is that I think for women we get kind of targeted beauty as personality. You know?
Ouch.
Like, I think a lot of women get kind of falling into the trap that being good looking is a kind of a substitute, like, and it's not their fault because that's what we're taught. Like, beauty makes you a good person. It makes you this. It makes you that.
Is wild.
But I think that's also like, yeah. And I think your experience of becoming invisible, or not invisible, but
thank you, Linka.
No.
My experience of becoming ugly.
No. Your experience, and the reason because I want to highlight it because I think a lot of women feel like if they're not pretty, like. Here's the thing with men, and like I don't want to generalize. I think like there's never a good thing about generalizing, and I don't want men to be
that's why
attacked
I feel
by
bad
this.
about this conversation.
But I will say the way men treat women that they're not attracted to, it's not even that they just are like, oh yeah, it's someone I'm not attracted to. They will truly disrespect and ignore you.
Oh really?
Yeah, like they just ignore women. They're not nice to women. A lot of men, not all of them, and especially not, of course, not gay men. But I think like. A lot of straight men, they don't even notice they do it because it's so integrated into just how they operate in the world. But they actually just, if they're not attracted to a woman, they don't even consider her like a human being. And I think a lot of women internalize that feeling. They're like, yeah, if I'm not pretty, then these people, which is like half the world is men, especially straight men. These people who hold so much power in the world, like, don't recognize me as a person. And I think that's also like, we cannot fault people for chasing beauty because, you know, it is like what it is, and of course you want to be treated like a person. Yeah. So I feel like as a man, there's that certain level of privilege that you can, and I'm not saying that you're a super
totally.
But I think there's that level of privilege that you can kind of choose. Like, I'm not really going to be as invested in beauty.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not going to, it'll materially impact your life in some ways, but you can still operate in the world in a way that as a woman, it's much harder to do when you're not conventionally attractive.
I totally relate to this in the way that I see what white men can do as a black man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, white men can literally wear pajamas.
Yes, like out in public.
That's
exactly.
a new trend. I don't know if you see that. If I do that, people are going to look at me so weird. And again, I don't know because I haven't tried, you know, but I always try to be careful with like stereotypes that I have in my mind because, again, I come with a lot of privilege too, so I want to be careful. But like, I see what they can do and like...
Or they can be like rude in a way that I think as a POC, you're like, especially as a black person, you're not allowed to like be rude to people.
Exactly. And I live in a white dominant country, so, you know, part of it is also just because I'm a bit more rare. You know, my race is a bit more rare, but like, I see the way they dress and the things they can do, and I have to be like extremely clean on me. You know, it's like my hair has to be clean, my beard has to be clean because very quickly I can fall into a threatening category, you know, for society. So I do relate to this, you know, in this dimension. And talking about that, I think it's interesting to think of beauty standards when it comes to race.
Yes, because that's big.
That's so big. Like, you know, I don't think I realized in the 2010s how cool it was at the time to be POC, you know, like all the POC features and especially black features were really, really put on in the upfront of like beauty standards, and actually it was just a trend, you know. It's like,
and now it's back to being white and
now
thin and blonde.
Yes.
Yeah.
and it's really, really obvious. But one thing still that I was thinking about that is a bit controversial too, but even though everybody was like, oh, it's so cool to be like POC, it's so cool to be like dark, and like everybody in the 2010s wanted to get all these black features, at the end of the day, you know, when it like, I feel like first of all it was a very like thing in the woman's space, like when it comes to beauty standards, it was like a lot of like the lips, the BBL, all the things, and wasn't it just about sexualization at the end of the day and
Yeah, I think so.
fetishization of like black features? But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it was not really beauty; it was more desire, right? Which is
Yeah.
are two things that are really close to
And
each
it was
other,
also like I feel like it just, again, people just shed it so quickly,
yeah,
which I find so
yeah,
fascinating. It wasn't like, and it also teaches me that people can be trained to like things.
yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah.
white guys were trained to like curves for 10 years and then now they don't anymore.
You know, but like, was it real or was it just a trend?
I
Was it
think
just
it-
good PR and marketing, or was it real?
I think it was both. I think there was definitely the element of like you're emulating, you know, at the time hip hop was so popular and,
Yeah.
and the women that are perceived as very beautiful in hip hop look different than the ones who are maybe perceived as very beautiful in other genres. And of course that includes the fact that they're majority black.
Yeah,
So I think maybe it's a combination, but then I think the fact that those features got extracted from their original context and put onto like non-black people or white people, that was what I found so like, yeah.
yeah,
I think it in a sense it was a trend. Of course people will always find those features beautiful and they are always beautiful.
Yeah.
Point
Yeah.
blank. But
Yeah.
I find it very interesting how like now people are like, oh, like cringing at those features, and I'm like, but people have those. That is like,
yeah.
you know,
It's not just a trend.
it's not a
you know
trend.
what I mean?
Like I don't know, like
Yeah, because my feeling from again a man perspective, I feel like the typical handsome guy has always been blonde with blue eyes.
really?
Yeah, ever since I grew up. I mean, we've had like a more popular
Yeah.
trends and times, you know, POCs.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I feel like I'm
For
pretty sure
men.
if we look at statistics, I know that, you know, from dating apps, I read a studies a couple of years ago that, you know, the least liked demographics are black women, which is like tells a lot about beauty standards. But I'm pretty sure that the white
men are the
conventional
most.
beautiful, like, you know,
Men.
conventional
Yeah.
beautiful, quote unquote, obviously, guys, for those of you who are listening, beautiful men. I'm pretty sure it's always been number one.
Yeah.
They're always been number one. I doubt that, you know, people find like in men find POC men more beautiful than white men.
Really?
Yeah, I really
I
doubt
feel
it.
like okay.
But
'Cause
again-
I feel like all my white female friends do not have white boyfriends.
Oh, wait, because you have
I'm always like,
co-friends,
who are the white guys dating? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I find like, and I know beauty and relationships are
Yeah.
two very different things,
Yeah.
but in my
Yeah.
experience, at least my white female friends, none of them have white boyfriends.
You have a cool crew.
I don't know a single one who does. So I mean, maybe that's just my
Yeah.
like, my groove. Maybe that's just living in a big city.
Yeah, true.
But
It's true, actually.
yeah. But I will say, like, as being South Asian,
Yeah.
I can feel that, like, in my experience,
Yeah.
we are the least.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like
wow.
people do not like us for
Yeah.
beauty standards, at least.
No, that is crazy because
Yeah.
I talk about it a lot with my partner who's also South Asian, you know.
Yeah.
And this is really wild. I feel like that's where you see how much it's so much about trend and
Yeah.
exposure too.
Yeah.
I feel like so much of the reason why South Asian beauty is not necessarily appreciated is because nobody grew up with South Asian people on TV.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah,
in
or if they
media.
did, they were like desexualized.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, they weren't
Always.
considered like sexy. They were
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
kind of nerdy or like a bit dweeby.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so much of it is exposure because if I'm really being honest about like who I used to find pretty, I was born in France. I grew up in France. And by the way, the point I made just before, I think it's highly influenced by the fact that I'm French because
Yeah.
all my friends from France, even POC, are with white people. Like
Oh,
literally.
interesting.
Like I don't think I have anyone in mind that I
Yeah.
can think of who's with a POC. Even my brothers and sisters who are black people,
Really?
they're always white people.
wow, that is fascinating.
This is wild.
That is really
This is wild.
wild.
Oh, just my cousin. Sorry.
Yeah.
Amma, if you're listening to this, love you. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
So I guess that is like, yeah, in Europe it's like, yeah, blonde. Because I think here people don't think blonde people are as beautiful. I think it's more
That's
brunettes.
the thing,
White
it's-
people think brunettes, especially
Yeah.
like for men. Like my white friends would always joke that they think blonde men are like kind of weird.
Yeah, right?
No,
Yeah.
no offense to blonde men, but
Yeah.
they just think they just prefer a brunette. Like
Yeah.
and I always joke it's white people colorism.
Yeah.
But but I feel like I actually find here you'll see a lot in Toronto at least.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot more two POCs together. Or
Yeah.
my white friends will date POCs, but
Yeah.
my POC friends won't necessarily. All mostly date white people.
That is so interesting because
Yeah.
I really try to talk about it with my siblings and they get so defensive every time I talk
Yeah.
about it because in France there is like by law you are not allowed to talk about race.
Really?
Like in media and stuff, you cannot make any studies about race.
That's so strange.
It's so weird. I don't know if I say it properly, guys. If anyone knows more about this, please comment it. We need comments for the
Yeah.
algorithm anyway. So
Yeah,
please
that
comment
also
it.
probably makes it
But-
worse because then you can't call it out as a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
people don't acknowledge race as a real thing. So by result, like discriminations are just so much more welcomed in society and so much more intuitive. So like the other day, I was having a chat with my little sister who's 22 and she's only been with white men, and I'm like, it's interesting. Like we were talking about race, and she's like, racism doesn't exist. It's a thing from your generation and older generations. It's like, wow, okay, the
Oh.
brainwashing of friends for it. And I was like, okay, but like no. And then we really got into a fight, and I ended up being really like I really wanted to just make her
Yeah.
realize something. And I was like, why do you think you're always with white men? I was like, why do you think it's that? And she was like, this has nothing to do. And obviously, like it's a very complex debate, but I do think that part of it is I actually have a friend, a very good friend of mine. She's with a white guy, and she's really honest about this. So she told me it feels more safe.
Yeah, she'll be more accepted by wider society
Exactly.
if she is with a white guy because then she's seen as someone who's been
Exactly.
welcomed into the fold, so to
she
speak.
she told me I get a bit of white privilege because I'm with a white person,
Oh, that's very interesting.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I just feel like that's why I was so biased by this perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like because the people I know are very often with white people, and I feel like in France, this is the beauty standards has never evolved. The BBL didn't make it to France, guys. Like,
They'll get it in 10 years.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating. I didn't know that in France that A, you couldn't talk about race, but B, that beauty standard, the hip hop beauty standard, that just
Yeah.
never went over there.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot my point initially. But what I
Yeah.
was trying to say is that, but growing up, so I grew up with a lot of white people. Okay.
Yeah.
So my beauty standards was really white.
Yeah.
Like even what I was attracted to, which is an interesting conversation that we can get into too. It's like who I was attracted to was mostly like beauty represented by whiteness. As things evolved. Growing up, there was also a lot of people from North Africa in France, and as I was spending more time with like people from there, my vision of beauty evolved, and then I moved to Canada, which is really diverse and like so much more different type of diversity. My beauty standards evolved even more,
Yeah.
and now I live in Toronto, which has a different form of different immigration style. My beauty standard, you know what I mean? Isn't it just
it's really about
exposure?
exposure. I
Yeah.
agree. I think you can there's a reason that in different cultures there's different beauty standards, and it's because what you're near and what is kind of comes naturally to you. You'll see the beauty in it more if you are exposed to different kinds of people. I was like you. I grew up around many white,
Yeah.
very much POC in a white neighborhood. And then when I went to high school and it was more diverse, I was able to kind of expand my
Exactly.
horizon, and then university and life. But yeah, I think people who kind of stay in their own groups
Yeah.
tend to have more narrow standards of beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right, but that's why you guys are so much better. Also, I feel like it's a bit hypocrite because a lot of people will act like they're really open-minded and that they love all form of beauty and whatever, but the way they talk about themselves, you can hear that they're really restricted. You know what I mean? If
And then
somebody's-
you think, what are you thinking about other people? People who are obsessed with their weight.
Yeah.
That's something people who are really obsessed with their own weight. And I'm not saying you shouldn't work out, be healthy.
Yeah.
And it's also your body. You do whatever you want with it, honestly.
Yeah.
But if they're very they're like, oh, I ate a pizza, I'm so fat. Or they're like, oh my God, I feel so fat. And I'm like, but then how do you view actual fatness? How do you judge
Yeah.
people who are actually fat?
But you know what?
Yeah.
From my experience, they don't even judge so much. It's just they're so centered on themselves.
Yeah, it's
that at
almost
the
like
end of the day-
a certain kind of narcissism where
it's very much narcissistic. for
Yeah.
me. You know, it's like they're so obsessed with themselves, but like they don't really judge other people because they don't overthink it the same way they overthink it for them.
I think people still secretly. I think
Yeah, that's one
fat
thing.
phobia is like so entrenched into people's
Yeah.
like the media we consume and everything about like
Yeah,
our
this is
society.
true,
I
this
think
is true.
people secretly do judge. They just can't. Obviously, it's not polite to judge.
Yeah.
Um,
I can tell with myself. I have a lot of like.
Things you have to unpack.
No, I'm very much about this. You know,
Yeah.
like the weight thing. It's
Yeah.
a real thing. But do I judge other people?
Yeah.
I don't even look at other people that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Are you very judgmental when you look at other people?
No, I feel like I always just think everyone's on their own journey and like
Yeah. Right.
it shouldn't really how someone looks, how they present themselves. Like there's so much that goes into that you have no
Yeah.
clue or that they have no control over. But I am very self-critical when it comes to beauty, and I don't like to
Yeah.
admit it because I don't want to feel shallow.
Yeah.
But I do get what you mean, where it's like I don't really notice beauty that much on other people. Like of course,
Yeah.
like it's not something I'm like actively thinking about. But for myself, I really sometimes will hyperfixate on it. But I try not to
Yeah.
because I know it's like a rabbit hole that once you start getting
Yeah.
obsessed with it, it's like you'll never reach perfection.
Yeah.
But a big thing for me actually is weight a little bit, but I've learned to just like not worry about that too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, but
Yeah.
it's interesting because I feel so much of the reason why we're all of us are self-critical. I think it's not you, it's
Yeah.
not me, it's everyone. And I think why all of us, it's just because a lot of beauty is mystery and like
Yeah.
novelty and the way you arrange yourself and the way like you play with your clothes and you know,
Yeah.
I find you extremely beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But because I get the show every time I see you, right? I only see you see the details. You see like the
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's very easy to be ungraceful when you're really close to
The thing, exactly.
you know. And I feel like even Kylie Jenner, she might feel this way
Yeah.
because she sees all the imperfection. Her
Yeah.
body is profoundly imperfect, right? Which I find beautiful, but not everyone does.
Yeah.
So I think so much of being self-critical is just because we cannot play the same mystery, especially nowadays when we spend so much time with the selfie camera on.
Yeah.
You know,
I know, and
it's
you're like,
it's wild. Like honestly, like my job, I'm a content creator,
Yeah.
for a living. So it's like I spend so much time editing myself, and sometimes I hate it so much.
yeah.
I hate it so much. I'm like, I'm so done with my big face. It's like, ah.
Think about it this way: the camera distorts your face, so how
Yeah.
you look in the mirror is really how you look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
That's always what I tell
Yeah.
myself when I see myself on
True,
camera.
true. It's very true. Did you see that filter that shows how other people see you?
Oh, I
on
can't do those
TikTok?
things. It just
It's-
gives me too much
yeah,
like anxiety and dysmorphia.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think beauty is interesting. It's like we all of course have stories and feelings, and I always felt like as a kid I was like people like would kind of put like me in a masculine sort of role.
Wow.
I think because I'm brown, to be honest.
Oh my god.
So they'd always make me play boys in plays, and one time they even made me wear a beard
What?
when I did that. Yeah.
This is wild.
And my
Linda.
friends who were like not South Asian got to wear like they got to be fairies in the play.
This is wild, Linka.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
But I think I kind of like rebelled against that by being like extremely feminine as I got older.
Okay, that's why
Yeah.
for me it was really a big surprise.
Like I feel like I was a little tomboy, but I think people really were like, "You're a boy," basically. And then I was like, "No, I'm not."
Wow. Do you feel like there is any expression of your appearance that can be non-social? Like, can it be a truly unbiased expression of who you are, or is it
I
always
think it's
just
always
a
going to
response?
be a response
It's a
to
response,
society,
right?
Because everything about how you look is in response to either if it's that you don't care, that's a response to the fact that everybody cares, right?
Oh my god.
And if you do care, it's a response to the fact that everybody cares.
You made another classic.
Yeah.
You made another classic.
This is gonna get like
Keep
so.
doing it. Keep doing it.
But yeah, I think with beauty, it's like it's all about how you appear to. And again, like I'm not saying that you can't care. I think like we all care. I think
we
even
all
the people who are like I divest and I don't put any effort into it.
Yeah.
They're doing that on purpose to make a statement against caring.
Yeah. I feel
But
like
of course
I do
they
that.
want to be seen as like approachable and like lovely.
I feel like I
And
do that a lot. Yeah.
what the like I don't care.
Yeah, it's like I love being. Basically, I don't buy clothes because I'm broke and I spend way too much money on other things. So it's like it's not even that I don't buy clothes; it's that I could not possibly buy clothes. You know, it's like I can't. I've spent way too much money on coffee. Anyways, and so I always like, yeah, I just don't take care so much of the way I look. Same thing. I have no skincare routine because I just have
Really,
a good
you have
natural
beautiful skin.
Yeah, thank you, but it's like all genes.
Really?
Knock on wood. So it's like, and this past 2 years, I started aging for the first time. Like I'm having the little wrinkles because I smile a lot.
That's good though.
That's
Those are
good.
nice wrinkles.
And yeah, my partner told me, it's like, you've aged since I met you. And
I'm
it's
like laughing.
yes, but it's true. He's right. And he made me
Yeah.
realize that. And my brand, all during my 20s, was like, I don't care about the way I look. I'm just gonna do same. I don't do hair care at
yeah.
all. Like I do nothing. And now I'm starting to realize that all of that was just like it was a response to
Yeah.
society. It was like
I
don't-
also think if you are privileged enough to be kind of considered good looking, you can do that.
you
You know,
can, put
because
it
you'll
out.
still get by with a certain
Yeah.
like because I feel like I was always the same way. I was like, I'm not gonna like I have hair on my upper lip. I'm not gonna wax that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like shave under my arms. And then
because
I feel
everybody
like
finds you pretty. and you're
yeah,
like-
but I was like, if I like wasn't like slim and like
Exactly.
young, it would have such a.
Exactly.
And now I feel like I do those things because I've gained weight since then, and it sounds bad, but it's like I feel like I can't get away
Same,
with it.
same.
And
Yeah,
so it's like
totally.
it's honest. Again, it's a certain level of privilege to be able to say like I don't care because like people will still kind of treat you nicely even
Yeah.
with all those things of not
Yeah.
caring
Yeah.
because you hold a certain level of like like thin privilege, like
Exactly.
able-bodied privilege, like all these privileges that you have already.
Exactly.
So then you can divest. But I find people who live in like for example, like a lot of like my friends who are heavier set have told me,
Yeah.
especially the women, they have to be really put together all the time. Because
This is-
people really judge them on being like slobby if they're not like very hyper feminine, very put together.
This is wild.
And I find, and I understand where they're coming
Yeah.
from. And so for me, it's the privilege of like I existed
Yeah.
before in a much skinnier body, so I could just be like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I thought I was being rebellious, but really
Yeah,
I was just playing
exactly.
into it.
Same. And
Yeah.
exactly same thing. And because also like I have a lot of these conversations with my partner, and I'm like, he's like, you're 31 now, so your hair will fall.
Not if you use Rogaine.
Oh, by the way, I just had a partnership with MD Hair.
Oh.
Which they reached out to me, and I was like, is my hairline receding? Why did they reach out to me?
They're like, yeah, you need that.
It's a
No, your hairline isn't.
No, I have a huge forehead because I'm black, but it's not receding at all. It's just like it's about time that it could start, you know. And I was like, we had a deep conversation about it, and I just ended up by, I'm just going to Turkey, you know. I'm gonna get it fixed. And I realized that so much of it is
Yeah.
because you get the privilege
Yeah.
of like
You're young, and
You know
it's like
what
no
I
matter
mean?
what you do, it's like you'll always have some level of like, you know, you have the privilege to be kind of considered attractive even if you're doing nothing. Because I used to do no skincare. No, I would not sleep with a silk bonnet. I would do no skincare. I would like sleep in my makeup. Like I don't know, just deranged behavior. But I think and like because I was the way I was like
Yeah.
skinny. I was like early 20s, and
Yeah.
I don't know, like
Yeah.
I think those two things just automatically put you in, and yeah, able-bodied. Those things just put you in a certain level of privilege that then you can pretend like it doesn't affect you how you
Literally.
look. And then as soon as
Yeah.
you age or you you gain weight or whatever, something happens, you realize, oh, it's actually very important to be considered somewhat good looking or somewhat taking care of your appearance, because then people judge you if you don't.
So much.
Yeah.
So much. What are some of the practical things that have helped you in your relationship with beauty?
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
looking forward to, because
Yeah.
we're aging, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Things are
I
only
know.
going down from here.
I think what's good is like for me, and I know it's not for everybody. Everybody's different. For me, it's all about just like enhance like the things that I like about how I look, just enhancing those features. So like, just having a nice skincare,
Yeah.
accepting that I'm not going to be someone who looks good with heavy makeup. So just doing a very light. Like I don't really wear a lot of makeup. Not to be like I don't wear a lot of
No,
makeup,
but
but
this
just
is
genuinely
incredible.
like
Your skin looks
when
so
when
good.
I when I wear like a lot of makeup, I just don't like how it looks on me. Maybe I'm just bad at makeup.
Okay.
So, you know, I love makeup as an artistry, but that's just something that I've noticed in myself. I just prefer how I look with a lighter face of makeup. Focusing on being able to take care of my natural hair as opposed to trying to like make it look different, make it look straight, make it look, I don't know, just doing a good hair care routine for my natural curls. And then working out, you know, pretty often and taking care of my like health in that way.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think those things are all, it's like enhancing what I naturally have as opposed to trying to fix something that exists.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn, this is so profound.
Yeah.
I love
so that
this.
really helped. Is like I'm gonna look how I look, and no matter what. But there are things you can do to like enhance your features.
Yeah.
But you're never gonna really be able to change them completely. Like for me, I have a round stomach, and I will just always have it. My stomach sticks out, and I feel like if I think too much about it, it'll just stress me out for no reason. Life is already stressful.
Totally.
So I may as well just like work out, eat healthy as much as I can, and
Yeah.
if my stomach sticks out, that's fine.
Totally. I
Yeah.
really like that. I love
Yeah.
this mentality of like, to me, how I would translate it in my life is to work out to be healthy.
Exactly.
Not to look good.
Not to look good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, then it becomes a habit. If you work out to
Exactly.
look good, you'll just stop.
You just stop.
And I also think it just gives you an unhealthy relationship to working out when working out is actually very good for you.
Yeah.
Like I started working out actually for my because I read that it was sort of like taking an antidepressant.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing it for my mood,
Yeah.
but then that gave me a really healthy relationship to working out.
That is very true, guys. By the way, me when I'm lazy, I stop my workout. Like, I used to go to the gym. I used to run a lot, but sometimes I'm really low, and at this moment I'm under a lot of stress. So I'm really low. I take walks. I take 60-minute silent walks
That's good.
every day.
That's really good.
This is incredible. This is like literally day and night the way I feel mentally, and it's really helped my mind, my body too. I feel like I'm so much healthier. So it's like workouts doesn't necessarily have to be in the gym. You can just go out, take
just
a
move
walk.
your body.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
a coffee, just go for a walk. And to me, it's been a game changer. So I think, again, if we go there with the intention of just feeling better, not even feeling better, just being healthy, just moving.
Yeah.
Really moving. The symbol of life is moving.
Yeah.
And things work so much better. To me, one thing that I've did throughout my 20s that has really helped me, I feel like, again, as I said before, I feel so much of beauty ends up becoming the main thing about your personality.
Yeah.
Because people essentialize you to the way you look.
Yeah.
One thing that has helped is investing in other part of my personality. So I've become a really nice person, So people appreciate me because I'm nice, I'm polite, I make compliments. So I guess investing in other part of your personality. So when your beauty depreciates, because it will, you can feel good and feel included in society for other things.
Exactly. I agree. I feel like there's so many, even when it comes to appearance. For me, I love style. And I think there's so much more value in cultivate a personal style than just like dressing to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think like that has to do with personality and then
Yeah.
also other things. So yeah, like trying to be someone who people call funny. I don't want beauty to ever be the first thing someone says about
Literally,
me.
yeah.
I want it to be like, she's funny.
Yeah.
She's really sweet. She
Yeah.
makes great lasagna.
Yes. How do you feel when people tell you you're pretty? What
I
does
mean,
it make you
I think
feel?
it's a very nice compliment because
Yeah.
if it's people who like don't know, I'm always like, wow.
Wow. Yes. I agree.
But to be honest, like I feel like not that many people tell me I'm pretty.
I mean, it's good. Like, I feel like it used to be, people used to say more compliments before. I
Yeah,
feel
you
like
think people are-
post-pandemic, people became much less.
Yeah,
into
I know because I
compliments.
remember when I was younger,
Same.
I would just like walk into a bakery and the person working there would be like, "You're
Same.
so pretty."
Yeah,
But now I'm like, that would never happen.
never.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe I've just
Yeah.
become ugly, but you know.
No. I don't think so. I think that compliments are really, really important. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's. I feel so good when people tell me I'm pretty. Like,
Yeah.
I feel so good, and it's like it's a boost on.
I
on
think the
ego
thing
and
is
stuff.
too with being beautiful is that you feel like even it in some ways because there's this sort of like there's obviously subjective beauty,
Yeah.
but it feels sort of like an objective compliment.
Yeah.
Where it's like if someone calls you pretty, it's like, oh, they're unbiased because they don't know me or they don't
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
and that just and it's like someone who I'm not friends with,
Yeah.
and they're just complimenting me to compliment me, and that's what feels good is that
Yeah.
it's like someone you don't know
Exactly.
complimenting something about you, and
Yeah.
beauty is obviously the easiest thing to do that with.
Mm.
So that's I think maybe why it feels so good to be called pretty is because
Yeah.
it feels the sort of like an objective compliment you can get again
Yeah.
from someone you don't know because
Yeah.
most of us do not have like the privilege of having any kind of platform where your personality is what gets complimented over your looks
Literally.
but by people you don't know.
Literally.
Yeah.
And that's the thing also about social media, which for me, as somebody who's been trying, I mean, I am technically a content creator right now, but I don't have like a big following. I've been trying to grow a lot. I do feel like people who are like conventionally really pretty they get so much more
Yeah.
support. They do nothing, Linka.
Well,
they literally do third straps. Like they arrive in front of the camera. They do just the dance or they do whatever. They get like 1,000 likes.
Well,
I'm like,
then
this is
let's
so
get into
unfair.
let's get into beauty as like a currency / as a way to
Yeah.
be successful under capitalism.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a different type of beauty than just the beauty of like your partner on a Sunday morning. You know, those are two. Beauty as capital. That is always like women have, especially women.
Ew.
Sorry to say, but
No,
have
it's true.
always been able to capitalize on looks.
Yeah.
And social media has just made that divide even more because you're right. People like Bella Poarch who just literally make a video of them like bopping their head, and then they just get like 30 million views
This
or whatever.
is wild.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about this.
Yeah, I think beauty. The reason also for women why it's kind of considered you need to invest in it, is because it can actually lead to material success for us
Yeah.
in a way that maybe for men too, but I think
Yeah.
for women.
Right now it can. Yeah.
Yeah, for
sure.
women as well, like it has always been like, oh, if you're good looking, you can actually make money. You can get yourself out of poverty. You can
Yeah.
the rags to riches story. Social media has just made that even more strong.
Yeah.
And I'm not to say that you can't be a content creator or someone in the public eye if you're not beautiful, but I think you do have to work a lot harder.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you think about it, a lot of them are conventionally beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably a good 95% of
Yeah,
them.
the ones that I feel like content creators who aren't have to do like a lot of research. They have to make really good content. It sounds bad to say. Non-conventionally attractive content creators just have to be good at making content. Whereas if you're pretty,
Yeah.
you can gotta be
You
bad
can
at
do
making
it.
content.
Like
Yeah.
honestly, all these vlogs also like it's so funny. 2 days ago, I was watching an interview of a gorgeous person, a really beautiful girl, and I was looking at the interview. And I was like, she's so smart. And then I look at her vlogs because I'm like, the vlogs have to be philosophical and good because she's really smart.
And they're
The
bad.
vlogs are nothing. Like it's like just her going everywhere, going to red carpets, going to also this obsession with model culture, like
Yeah.
model and like what is it, like the fashion shows and
Yeah.
all these influencers going so much focus on the way you look and appearance and what you wear and what you makeup you wear, and like the beauty industry as a whole is so big and generates so much clicks.
Yeah.
It's just so weird.
Yeah,
to me.
I think it kind of taps into that thing where we see pretty people, and again, because of years of programming, we just think they're trustworthy, they're good people. Like the hero is always good looking, the villain's always ugly.
Yeah,
quote,
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think Ursula and Jafar kind of slay.
They're kind
but
of a vibe.
They're
come
kind of
on.
more of a vibe than the main
Ursula is
characters,
such
yeah.
a diva.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, agree.
But I think like we view them as more trustworthy and like better people, and so when someone is good looking, like people will just be more interested in what they have to say. I find
Yeah,
with
that's true.
comedians, even like people joke that comedians don't have to be conventionally attractive, but I actually find the ones that like get
Yeah,
to very high levels of success, especially the women, usually are
Yeah.
good looking.
true.
You know,
Very true. Very
like
true.
maybe they're not the most gorgeous woman you'll
Yeah.
see, but they're still like they'll make jokes that they're not, but like Tina Fey, for example,
Yeah,
very successful comedian. She's gorgeous.
yeah,
She'll make a joke that she thinks she's ugly, but she's a gorgeous woman.
yeah. Totally.
And like Rachel Dratch, who's her like contemporary, I think she's a very pretty woman, but she's not conventionally attractive, and she has not had the same career trajectory as Tina
Yeah,
Fey.
yeah.
And that's just one example, but I think like how you look is like
Yeah.
in entertainment and content creation, all these spaces
Yeah,
is still, even with things like comedy writing,
yeah.
it still will give you a leg up.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, like I do fall into that trap, especially when after a long time on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
I do get more, like, I do feel like I stop to watch the TikTok a bit more easily when it's a good-looking person.
Yeah.
You know, men or women, actually, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact.
Yeah.
But it's just so into us, like into our brains, like it's just human nature, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and again, what does it mean? You know, what does beauty mean? But one thing I see on TikTok is that there are a lot of different. We were talking about categories of beauty before.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that fall into, like, they're not necessarily conventionally good looking, but they just found a way to make it hot. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like people with really thick eyebrows who like are models because
Exactly,
they're,
and they're gonna
yeah.
play it off, and that's literally the reason why they have a
Yeah.
following, you know,
Yeah.
because they made ugly look good, you know,
Yeah.
quote unquote, again. But I just find it so
I find that
weird.
fascinating, yeah.
It's so fascinating the way we play. Also, like the camera angle.
Well,
Plays
maybe a
role,
lot of
too.
beauty is also just like intentionality. Like anything can be beautiful if there's
Yeah.
an intention behind it, but maybe
Yeah.
like what we find unattractive is when people don't have intention. So it's like they have thick eyebrows, but it's like they're not like
Then
it's not
playing
because
up.
they're like it's not because they want to have thick eyebrows. It's because they just don't pluck their eyebrows or whatever
Exactly.
it is. Yeah, but what I find interesting is when you're naturally like pretty,
Yeah.
you don't have any intentionality, but you still get all these privileges.
Exactly. Exactly. And you see that a lot in men's spaces because
Yeah.
a lot of men like just like they don't even know they're pretty maybe, or they just like they don't know exactly what to do to get there
think-
because we're not
Yeah.
necessarily socialized to focus a lot on this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so a lot of men will like the ones who are like, they're not intentional with how they look.
yeah.
They'll complain and they'll be like, women have it so easy, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I think what it is actually just that women are taught from birth that they have to be pretty at all
Exactly.
costs. And
Yeah.
then they get pretty privileged because of
Yeah,
But if
that's
those
true.
same men put in even half the intentionality that women, like the average woman does,
Yeah.
they would probably be considered very conventionally attractive.
This is
I think
wild,
like
yeah.
most men could probably get there if they just like wash your face, go
Yeah.
to the gym.
True.
Yeah,
true.
because the standard for
true.
them is not
It's
like
very low.
yeah, like
it's very
obviously
low.
there's like people say, oh, men's beauty standards are crazy, these bodybuilders.
Yeah.
But the bodybuilder standard is actually the standard that men put on themselves. It's not the
Literally,
standard
and
that
it's specific demographics.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't feel pressurized at all. Like I'm 31, maybe I'm too old for this. I don't feel pressurized at all.
yeah. I think the only beauty standard for men that I do really have empathy for is the hair loss.
Yeah. Oof.
Because I think
I
that you
agree.
really can't control it and
agree.
it does like age you a lot. Like it makes you look a lot older.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
there's nothing wrong with having hair loss, like it's not your fault. I have empathy for that.
Yeah. Try MD hair. MD hair.
Hashtag sponsor, hashtag ad.
MD hair. If you're watching this, give me another contract. I need money. Thank you.
But yeah,
true.
I have empathy for men's beauty standards. I think like, I don't think men are exempt, but I do think
Yeah.
that they perpetuate it and like participate it in a way that they are not even aware of.
Yeah.
Like what I said about them not being very nice to women they don't find attractive. And again, not all men. There are definitely
that's
nice
really
men
true.
who
That's
do,
really true.
but there is generally a vibe, and I think maybe it was more popular like 10 years ago when we were younger,
Yeah.
that men would just not be nice to women they didn't find attractive.
Yeah.
But I think when men get that treatment from women, then they're like, what? Why? Like, why doesn't she find me attractive? What the hell? But it's just because women aren't only nice to people we find attractive. That's just the difference.
That is wild to
Yeah.
do that. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. That's why, like, women can be friends with, like, I find, like, there's this whole idea that, like, oh, like, men will be like, oh, she led me on, or she, like, why doesn't she want to date me? We were such good friends. But I'm like, women can just be nice to you and not be attracted to you, but a lot of men
Yeah.
just don't think that that's, like,
Yeah.
an option. They think,
I feel like a lot of men don't believe in friendship between men and women.
yeah.
I like every time I see. I don't know if it's like sensationalism. Sorry,
Sensationalized?
I don't know how to say that in English.
You're like, how do you say?
But I don't know if this is just that, but like a lot of these YouTube videos I watch of like men being asked, "Do you believe in friendship
Yeah.
between men and women?" They're always saying no.
It's because they don't. This is gonna sound bad. Those are the men who don't view women as people.
That's the thing.
Yeah, like
That's-
if you're a man who genuinely believes men and women can't be friends, and honestly, kind of like, to be honest, also if you're a woman who believes men and women can't be friends, it's because you don't really view the opposite gender as like people who are like human beings.
And that's
You
the reason
view them
why-
as like
Yeah.
just potential partners, and that's it.
That's why most men voted for Trump in the U.S. That's why this is it, because they don't give a damn about
Yeah.
abortion. Like,
Yeah,
they
they're
really
like,
don't care. They
they're
couldn't
like,
care
who
less.
cares if you can get healthcare?
Yeah. It's like,
My
it's
crypto's going up.
Exactly.
But yeah,
No, but like I heard a study saying that we're the first generation that has such a divide ideologically
between men and women.
It's really strong.
I see it. I see
it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you hang out a lot with? No,
hang
you
out-
hang out with a lot of men.
I actually have a lot of male friends, I will
Which is
say.
really
But the
cool.
men I hang out with are like, I like them. Even if sometimes like we disagree on things, I feel like they're usually the kinds of people I can have like, I hate to say that, rational debate with.
Yeah.
But I think I talk to like pretty cool men. I don't, like I
Actually
said,
see
I never
you as a person.
who see me as a person and I see them as a person.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who's, when I say men as a whole, I just am
Yeah.
thinking, I guess I'm thinking about a specific kind of
Of course.
men. But I will say, like, there are very cool men, and there's also very uncool women, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of women who also judge each other on looks
Yes.
very harshly, or they consider beautiful women bimbo. Like, internalized misogyny is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do hang out with a lot of men. I don't think they're ideologically that different from me, but we also live in Canada where
Yeah.
I think that ideological divide is different
Yeah.
than it is in the US.
Yeah.
Because things like abortion and gay marriage are just kind of part of our society.
Exactly.
We don't
Yeah.
like. I would hope that
Yeah.
they're not up for debate in Canada.
Yeah, hopefully.
But people don't really have opinions on that as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think beauty is just another way of policing in the end of the day. It's just a way
Yeah.
of controlling other people.
Yeah.
It's a way of controlling how they look.
Yeah.
And it's a way of when someone does make a point that you don't agree with or that whatever, you can then have that gotcha of like, you're not pretty. And it's an easy low blow, and it's something we're all very insecure about. And that's what's so interesting about beauty. We all have a relationship to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Thank you.
ending.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching,
Yeah.
listening.
And yeah, like tune in new episodes every month. That's what we're trying to do. So tune into the next one. And this has been the Committed Groove, where we're committed to the groove.
Yes.
But yeah,
We'll see you next time, guys.
see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.